Hey everyone, by popular request, I've decided to do a little video where I'm gonna analyze and break down a lot of the elements and the things that are going on in the track that I've been creating in the video series for this course. Because in those videos, you can see me create this track from the very beginning, from the first piano sketches to everything that you see now, the finished track and the finished mix. But the thing is that in those videos, there is not a lot of explanations and techniques and tips in terms of what you can do in your track. It's just a possibility for you to be a fly on the wall watching me create a complete track from beginning to end. So now, after a lot of people have been requesting this, I've decided to do a little video where I'm gonna have a look at the composition, the orchestration, and the production and different elements in this track, and kind of try to break down a lot of the considerations and thought processes behind different things I've been doing, and try to link a lot of the stuff that's going on here to the principles and techniques we have been discussing in the course so far, both in terms of the composition and the orchestration and so on. So to begin with, I still have this little overview thing with a piano sketch from the very first videos from the recording process of this track. And as you can see, it's like a simple intro, A, B, A, and outro structure. So what we have, when I made this track, I had a kind of different plan in mind than what I ended up with. But let's just have a listen to this first A section, because I want to just break down some of the melody and counter melody and harmony things that are going on in this track composition wise. So that's the first main theme. And originally, I did not plan on having this counter melody in the very beginning, because usually I like to start pretty pure and clean, like with only the melody and the harmony, to not overwhelm the listener with too many elements at the same time, to just create a statement that presents the main theme by itself. But as the composition process of this track evolved, I ended up moving this section, which was originally the second A part, over here, and I ended up sticking to keeping the cello counter melody for this section as well, and then rather changing this part, which we're gonna look at soon. But to break it down quickly, this part of the track consists of what we had here in the Quake piano sketch, which is the melody, the harmony, and the counter melody, and also some quick staccato things to create some more movement. Because if I play this and I mute these staccato things, it kind of feels like it's standing still a little bit. While if I turn them on again, you can sense that there's some kind of forward movement to it. It's really subtle, but you can feel it and you can hear it in the background, just driving the track a little bit forward. So that's the reason I added these staccato strings, just to keep like a little bit, give it a bit more momentum, like a forward movement. Now, the rest is basically just a melody and the counter melody, and then you have the chords. So it's pretty simple, actually. It's not that many elements. The only thing I've been doing is that I've been giving it to different instruments. Now, what a lot of you have been noticing is that I've been using the string ensembles to create the harmonies here, and some places I think I might have been doubling it with the legato ones, which is the case at least at some points in the recording video, I think, if I don't remember wrong. Anyways, because I've been talking a lot about, like, an orchestration part of the course, how you can get some great results by voicing these chords out to legato instruments, like giving this part to the first violins, this to the second violins, this to the violas, cellos, and basses, and so on. But in this case, I just ended up doing this because it just sounds good. I ended up sticking with this because it just sounded better than whatever else I tried. And I don't really have any chords in the strings here, because in the violins they're playing the melody and the cello is playing the counter melody. So by really straight orchestration practice, this might not be 100% possible for a live ensemble. I would probably orchestrate it a bit differently, but since it sounds good, which is the most important part, I chose to stick with it. Because in a lot of cases, when you start going away from the rules, you might end up with like a muddy sound, but in this case it ended up sounding pretty well, I think. So that's it for here. It's pretty simple. It's just a harmony, both staccato and like long chords. It's a melody in the violins, and it is the counter melody in the cellos, and that's it. And there is some just a few things that I like to do here on like the beginning of the beats, which is to insert like a boom, like a low boom. And there's like a crescendo here in the dual drums and a little roll that you can listen to now. Leading just up to this section. And it's something I like doing, and there's like some storm drum 3 Daiko things, just accentuating the beginning of the beats here. So that combined with the strings is basically this entire first section. Now moving on to the second half, I'm introducing some more movement to kind of bridge this slower part over to the next more intense and rhythmically active part. So I've been starting to just introduce some light percussion, which we can listen to here, and the horn doubling the cello melody, because the horn is taking over the main melody in the second half here. I mean the second part, second A theme. So I want to kind of bridge that by introducing the horn slightly to the counter melody part here. So we then have the same here, exactly the same as before, violins for the melody, cellos for the counter melody, now joined by the horns to create a sense of growth. And we still have this staccato and the sustains for the chords. Now, I've also been introducing some female choirs at the end here, just to give like an even more, like even bigger boost, and as well as the tubas in the brass to join the bass notes, just to give the low end also like a little boost here towards the end of the phrase before we get over to the second A theme. So let's listen to the second part. So as you can hear, I've been doing the same like roll transition thing over to this part and introducing some quicker movement in the percussion. Like I've been doing some brushes here together with the Armageddon ensemble, also some brush here. So it's just some light percussion to create an even bigger sense of like forward movement and momentum, like I did with the strings here. It's basically the same kind of rhythm. So these, in a way, are just joining the staccato strings in creating that movement in this section. Because, again, as soon as I take away this, if I mute these drums and the staccato strings, you can hear that already a lot of the movement and energy just goes away. You can see it has a pretty big effect. Now if I add them back again, there's a lot more movement and energy in this section. So these small details play kind of a big role, which is what I want you to pay attention to. Like these small things, like the staccato strings, moving it forward, and these light percussion parts. As well as these rolls, because again, if I take away this, let me just take away all the percussion. Even here, you lose a lot of the energy that starts each section. It's a big difference. Here as well, let's try without first. You can see that there's no energy kickstarting this section. And with it, so you can hear that it plays kind of a big difference actually. So that's it for here. I also added some more basses here. Like at the very last part here, I've been just adding some extra elements like the tubas, the choirs, just to lift it a little bit, give it a little boost towards the end of this phrase. So let's see here. Yeah, and there's a little gap. I chose to do a little break here because it just kind of needed it. I think I tried it without the break first, but I won't move all this now. I think it's going to be pretty messy because of all the different elements here, but I wanted to have a break to let it breathe for a second before we head over to the next section again. So let's just listen to that part. Actually, I'm kind of curious to hear what it sounds like if I just move this. Wait, that's a little bit too much. Let's hear what this sounds like. Yeah, it doesn't really have that much of an effect. It loses a little bit of the energy because when you create like a contrasting little thing, like here it's a contrast because it goes from energy to silence back to even more energy. If you go from like a high energy thing to another high energy thing, you'll lose a bit of the impact, which is why a lot of trailer music, for example, use breaks and silence to create even bigger contrast and even more power of the biggest climaxes in the tracks. So using breaks is really effective and an important way to make the biggest sections of your track seem even bigger. Because if you follow, if you follow a silence with a big section compared to not having any breaks before that big section, the climax won't have that massive effect. It won't sound as big as if you create like a contrasting part before it, like a calm part or just pure silence, like a break. So that's a kind of important tip to keep in mind. Next, it's the next section is the same exact theme, but I have taken out the counter melody. So I've been actually just moving the counter melody part from here, which was the original plan, to here. So I've been kind of simplifying it a bit here by just focusing 100% on the horn melody, like a more majestic thing that's driven forward by a lot of percussion. So the main focus is on the horn melody and the percussion driving this theme forward. Now, I've also been expanding on the staccato strings, and they are playing kind of a counter melody, or it's like a mix of a counter melody and an ostinato, because you have the horn here. Wait, actually, let's just play this part and listen to it first. I can break it down a bit more after that. Okay, so that's the first half of the second A part. Now, the elements we have here is first of all the horn melody,